Welcome to Critical Junction, episode 55. I'm Mark.
I'm Luke.
I'm Jill.
The hell was that? Anyway, on April 8th, 9th, and 10th of 1904, the English occultist, prolific novelist, poet, painter, and mountaineer Aleister Crowley claimed to have been contacted by a supernatural entity calling itself Aiwass, who dictated the Book of the Law to him while on his honeymoon with Rose Kelly in Cairo, Egypt. This would become the foundational text of the religion of Thelema. Greek for will, the central tenet of Thelema is do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Often mistaken to mean do whatever you want, do what thou wilt is really a call to discover that which one is most suited by their nature to do and pursue that above all else, which Crowley frequently referred to as the true will. According to Crowley, quote, a man who is doing his true will has the inertia of the universe to assist him, end quote. Born Edward Alexander on October 12, 1875, Crowley was quick to reject his parents' strict fundamentalist Christian Plymouth Brethren faith and used his enormous inheritance after the passing of his father to pursue his interest in Western ceremonial magic, joining the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 1898. In 1907, he and George Cecil Jones co-founded the Astrum Argentum, or Order of the Silver Star, an esoteric organization through which they propagated Thelema through a direct teacher-student relationship, where each student would be granted a series of degrees meant to denote their progress towards spiritual enlightenment. In 1912, Crowley was initiated into the German Ordo Templi Orientis, or Order of the Eastern Templars, rising rapidly through the ranks to become the leader of the Order's British branch, reformulating it and drawing on his experience with the Freemasons in order to create its new structure as a Thelemic fraternal society. In 1920, he established the Abbey of Thelema in Cefalù, Sicily, where he taught his growing religion to some of his followers in a type of religious commune where absolute liberty was endorsed, drugs were widely available, and Thelemites, as followers of the religion would become known, were encouraged to uncover their true will through the use of altered states of consciousness and a blend of ceremonial magic and Eastern mysticism. He was later expelled by the Italian government in 1923 after being denounced by the British Yellow Press for what they perceived as a debaucherous lifestyle, labeling him, quote, the wickedest man in the world, end quote, and a Satanist due to his liberal experimentation with drugs, open bisexuality, and vocal promotion of individual liberty, all of which seem rather tame by today's standards. His fortune completely spent and ravaged by a heroin addiction, Crowley died of a respiratory infection at a boarding house in Hastings on December 1st, 1947, after promoting Thelema for the remainder of his life. The heroin, incidentally, had been prescribed to him for his asthma. So, was Crowley truly the wickedest man in the world as the tabloids tried to paint him? Was he truly a prophet meant to usher in a new era of liberty and freedom for all of humanity? Or was he simply a Victorian rabble-rouser who happened to enjoy his notoriety a little too much? Let's talk about that, shall we?
From what I can tell, it sounds like a mix of all of those fun things kind of thing. And from what I understand, too, he was a coke addict as well?
He wrote Diary of a Drug Fiend, which was, like, adventures in cocaine from a fictional perspective. Mm-hmm. It's not a very good book.
Well, are any of his books a very good book?
Moonchild is okay.
Okay. Is that like a prose novel, or is it like a nonfiction kind of thing?
That one's prose. Like, he wrote a couple of different just fiction prose type books. Moonchild being one of them. Diary of a Drug Fiend is the other. White Stains is a collection of erotic poetry.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's a little on the nose.
Yeah, with some gags.
Love the title of that one. Very apropos.
Can you say you made it through these books?
I made it through some of them. I didn't make it through Drug Fiend, mostly because I thought it was boring. Like, his style is really long-winded.
I was expecting you to say that you didn't make it through White Stains, but you did not say that title. You said the other one. Which means you made it through White Stains.
I made it all the way through White Stains. Actually, I'm going to go grab it in a second. The book, not anything else.
Just going to go pull it.
Just so we can read a couple of excerpts from White Stains. Because, yeah.
Wow.
Well, because it sounds like he considered himself a poet in the sense that, like, all of this could have been secondary to his writing, even maybe possibly.
Well, at first he took his writing really seriously because he included the complete works of Aleister Crowley as required reading in, I think it was the Astrum Argentum or one of his other organizations. So, like, he just flattered his own ego by, hey, look, you have to read my shit, yo. He just made it mandatory. It was really
mandatory for who?
For new students seeking entry into the AA.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's an entire reading list of shit that he, he included his writings, he included his own translation of the Tao Te King. Like, gotta read my shit, gotta read this other shit too, but mostly my shit.
Huh. He translated the
Tao Te Ching?
Yeah, because he was really interested in Eastern mysticism, especially Taoism and Buddhism.
Right.
And you can see a lot of those influences in the rest of his esoteric writings, like towards the latter half of his life.
So that would undermine this idea that he was just kind of sincerely looking at conjuring literal demons and exploring this occult stuff on a totally earnest, literal level, right?
Well, he was earnest in his pursuit of the occult. Like, he wanted to actually investigate this.
Mm-hmm.
I think he took it too literally at some point. I don't know. His occult writings are really, really weird. A lot of them are tongue-in-cheek, but you can't really tell which is tongue-in-cheek and which parts are being serious. And I don't know, like, a lot of people say that he did that to dissuade non-serious practitioners or people who weren't earnest in their kind of discovery of his writings or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think he might have just been fucking off a lot of people.
Well, I mean, the entire project just seems like something born out of contempt, right? Like, his dad, who was a priest or minister or something, died when he was a kid, and then that's like some kind of turning point where he starts, where he from then on rejects conventional morality and Christianity in particular, and
he raged against Christianity, and that was primarily, like you said, after his father died, but it was also because his mother was just a bitch to him a lot of the times, and she was super strict Christian Plymouth Brethren too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he railed against her, and the best way he figured out of doing that was to embrace this moniker of the Great Beast.
But that's it. This stuff about the Great Beast and about demons is explicitly the Christian dark side, right?
Yeah.
And so by him totally kind of supposedly venerating it and indulging in it and wallowing in it, kind of thing,
right,
is sort of an expression of contempt of that contempt for Christianity.
Seems to have served as self-promotion, anyways. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's it. He makes himself. It's sort of attention grabbing, like anyone who sort of breaks all the rules and stuff for no other reason than to break the rules.
Yeah. Well, he labeled himself the prophet of the new eon, right?
Yeah.
Like he was supposed to usher in this new era for humanity, according to the reception of the Book of the Law, for example.
Yeah, it seems like he wanted to introduce the Western world to the Eastern thought process, I guess, or like the Taoism, the Buddhism.
Indirectly, yeah. Indirectly, he wanted to, he declared that all systems of philosophy and spiritual attainment up until the point of reception of the Book of the Law was no longer valid. So he took
mine.
Dismissed
so even
the rest, including the Tao Te Ching.
So he pulled aspects of Eastern mysticism and Western ceremonial magic and smashed them together into this new magical system that he devised. And he used the definition of magic that he gave was the art and science of causing change to occur in conformity with will. So according to him, every willed action was an act of magic. It was meant to transform the world around you, and it was supposed to be representative of your inner transformation through outward willed action, I guess.
Right. It does seem that he also...
Keep talking, I have to imprison the cat.
Well, he spoke about how he did encourage the scientific method and stuff like that with his with magic. Like, he wanted it to be strictly documented and things like that.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
Right? Because his whole ritualism fetish and stuff seems to be more of a rejection of sort of Enlightenment values of the scientific method and reason and all this, and it seems to be more about kind of indulging in your id, and
right.
Although what Mark was saying a second ago seems to kind of contradict that, where the phrase "do what thou wilt" isn't necessarily about do what you want, but do what you're naturally inclined to do. Right.
To touch back on that science thing, the motto of the Astra Argentum was the method of science, the aim of religion. So he wanted to combine those two things into like this new system where he would use the scientific method in order to pursue religious ideologies or religious ideas. I don't think it really worked that well.
Well, that's what I was curious about. I was wondering if that actually went on, like if people did embrace the scientific method when doing these magical incantations or whatever you want to...
The practitioners of the system would like to think they are, but they're not. It's just self-deception. If you were really using the scientific method, then you wouldn't go in there with this preconceived notion that this shit is going to work or do anything, right?
Right. But they would be open to the possibility of and document it.
Yeah, like they're really big on documentation. Crowley advocated for the keeping of a magical diary where you're supposed to record all your practices to be more scientific about what you're doing.
About this unscientific shit you're doing.
Yeah. Be scientific about the unscientific shit you're doing.
I mean, when we're looking at will and in a sense the doing something useful with the will, I mean, you can document it scientifically, and transcending yourself and all that stuff would be part of it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can still document it scientifically. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
Doesn't mean they did it though or anything.
Yeah, like a lot of it does come down to transcending the ego. Like a lot of what he wrote about was ego dissolution and unity consciousness, where you're supposed to unite subject and object, that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Which seems contrary to the sort of the accusations that's put against it, which is all about just succumbing to your ego and to what you want to do. You just do it. Right. Anyone else be damned, kind of thing.
Right? Yeah. And it comes back to that misunderstanding of what do what thou wilt was supposed to mean, right? Which, by the way, he borrowed from François Rabelais in Gargantua and Pantagruel. Like, that's where the first iteration of do what thou wilt comes from.
Who is this guy?
French author.
Okay. You're familiar with him, Gilles? Or?
I've heard the name. I don't remember what he wrote, but I know the name Rabelais.
Yeah. That's the only thing I know he wrote, just because of that one connection.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm thinking about Taoism and Buddhism, that phrase in a sense makes sense.
Like the way is all about just there's a lot of talk that's like going with the flow and
transcend your ego and what's happening, and that's
right. Yeah, and so did he say anything about Buddhism at all, or?
Yes. He had a lot of respect for Buddhism.
Okay.
In the same way that he had a lot of respect for Taoism.
Because again, Buddhism, like a big project of it is to give up your desire.
Right.
And
and he borrowed a lot of that in his meditative practices. Like that, for him, the idea of ego dissolution was not only that unity consciousness that I was just talking about, but it was also supposed to get you closer in touch with what he called the holy guardian angel or your higher genius. Mm-hmm. Like at that aspect of yourself that's supposed to kind of reveal what your will is beyond the desires of ego and beyond the desires of like conscious thought and whatnot. Your unconscious is where you're supposed to go in order to like reach that other level.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're suggesting this is also where he's receiving dictation for these books, right?
There's only there were a couple of books that he supposedly received in air quotes,
just like Joseph Smith and
See, I think that comparison is really funny because when it comes to Joseph Smith, he had that other person who was just kind of there while he was like, oh, look what I can see a word coming.
Yeah.
Whereas Crowley had his wife with him during the dictation.
Okay.
And according to the myth, I don't know if this is actually, I don't know if it can be validated, but on the first day that he received the Book of the Law, his wife had seen, while they were in the British Museum, an Egyptian museum, right? She stumbles upon this one. It's called a stele, right? It's this I think it's like I don't know if it's a grave marker or whatever, but it's like a plank with a bunch of hieroglyphics on it and whatever, and it was item number 666 in the museum, right? So she's like, fuck, hey, yeah, and then she got into this weird trance-like state and told him they're waiting for you. So they mosey on back to the hotel, and he starts this automatic writing thing, with her in the corner just kind of, I guess, witnessing it.
Okay.
So similar to the Joseph Smith story.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. But originally...
Some other people have drawn, sorry to interrupt, but some other people have drawn some kind of link or similar parallel with L. Ron Hubbard and his starting of Scientology.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
The 8th, 9th, and 10th dates in April weren't, according to another myth, the original dates that he received the book on. Apparently, he received it on April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So we don't know if it was meant as a giant joke that he later decided to try to make people think was serious by moving the dates over by a week, or
That this was an April Fool's gag?
Yeah, this whole thing is...
How long has April Fool's been a thing?
I don't know.
Huh.
I would think it has its origins in Christianity or something like that, would it not?
Probably.
Really?
I don't know why I think that. I guess I'm thinking of the French thing with the fish. The fish on the back,
Okay. The fish in the back. Oh, you mean using the fish as a subversive symbol for Christianity?
Yeah.
Anyway, I have my copy of White Stains out now.
Oh, yum.
Oh, is this the erotic poetry?
The erotic poetry.
Have you bookmarked your favorite passage?
Let's hear an excerpt.
I'm trying to find one that's especially horrifying.
So it sounds like his greatest success is in achieving a mythic identity.
Yeah. Well,
and that his writing wasn't very good.
A lot of his writing wasn't really good, but he was super into himself. So, being labeled the prophet of a new eon and having all these followers just kind of helped inflate his own ego, which is kind of funny when you consider the fact that a lot of what he wrote in his occultish stuff was meant to be the dissolution of the ego.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's kind of funny how the opposite ends up occurring.
It is kind of funny. I can't find the one I'm looking for. Keep talking.
The same sort of thing happened with Wittgenstein. I was reading recently in his autobiography where he's trying to destroy his ego and conquer himself. Yet anytime he puts out some sort of philosophy, he owns it and like, don't mess with my writing. And you'd have this, what Bertrand Russell would describe as like a satanic pride almost, in his work. So it's
you say Bertrand Russell would describe it that way.
It wasn't satanic, but it was something pride. It was bad pride, like it was devilish pride or something like that. Like it was ugly. It was ugly pride. Yeah.
Well, everything I've heard about him is that he's just like the ultimate sort of egoist.
Well, yeah, he seems to have put himself forward. He would set
like
forth
ultimately arrogant, at least.
He would set forth to like, let's say, apologize or announce his sins to try and conquer them to people, but it would just make people uncomfortable. Like, why are you putting me in this situation? Oh God, I gotta listen to you now. Like, oh no, what are you telling me?
Yeah.
Please, I don't want to hear this shit.
I think the one I'm looking for isn't actually in that book.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we hear an excerpt from White Stains anyway?
Okay.
Just pick one at random.
I can't help but think that it's referring to the words on the white paper. Like those are stains right now on that white paper. Shit stain paper right there. Originally written on toilet paper, from what I understand.
Okay, this is a quote from, it's called the Nameless Novel.
Okay.
Which is part of the White Stains here. Anyway. My own lusts were now to be considered. I decided upon a combination. One slave had his arse closely sewn up, and a dose of croton oil administered to him. Another I smeared with sugar and rolled up in an ant heap. A third I disemboweled and forced to feed upon his own steaming guts. A fourth and fifth, man and wife, I imprisoned, to be fed upon their own children, and after upon each other, mutilating them as far as possible without destroying life. For my satisfaction, for the giving of these for the giving of these orders, had all but turned my brain, I beheaded others, and plugged their windpipes with my rutland ramrod, while the rest buggered me in turn. Not until night fell did I desist from the delightful sport, when my father exclaimed with a huge guffaw, "By God's bollocks, Galahad, but there is nobody to cook the dinner." And it goes on like that. It's just bad stuff.
So it seems like it's all about just trying to write the most offensive thing ever, to violate any type of sensibility or moral norms.
And if you consider the period in which that was written, it was a shocker to these prudish Victorians, right? Mm-hmm. So of course they're going to label him the wickedest man in the world.
I can't help but think of Marquis de Sade.
That's
being
exactly
right.
For that kind of shit.
Right. So I think he definitely took a cue from that from the Marquis specifically. So yeah.
Apparently, the whole April Fool's thing really only takes off in the 19th century.
Really?
Not too long before he was born. He was born in 1875, you said, right?
1800s, yeah.
Yeah. And April Fool's kind of starts early to mid.
So maybe we're onto something.
Maybe.
So he was gaining in popularity around the time of World War II and stuff like that, right? This was maybe the height of his power, I guess, maybe possibly.
World War II was the height of his infamy.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
But didn't he die in 47?
He died in 47.
So he's pretty old at this point. He is in his 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
He's almost 75 when he dies.
So considering what I read to be poor health, he still lived to a fairly ripe age.
Oh yeah, he was
being a cocaine addict.
He was not a healthy guy. He had asthma for his entire life, and he was prescribed heroin for it, right? Which was the practice at the time. Kind of funny.
Just heroin for everything.
I was wondering. I was wondering, is that actually a sincere prescription, or is this the early 1900s equivalent of prescribing marijuana for glaucoma or something,
it looks bad, better give you some heroin.
Yeah, you know how many people are just walking around with a marijuana prescription that is total
just
bullshit.
handing out bullshit heroin prescriptions.
Yeah, feel
in
bad.
Those places
feel
where,
bad,
where
feel
it's
better.
legal for medical
feel bad, feel better.
feel better.
But yeah, the war thing. So there's a story that he wanted to work for MI5 at the time and, fight the Nazis. Yeah,
apparently he was sort of a spy for a British spy, and he was writing in German propaganda stuff, but he was claiming that he was being subversive and making it look as ridiculous as possible so that the West couldn't help but not be compelled by
one of them
by the movement.
One of the propaganda pieces in particular gave his aunt's address and begged them to bomb them.
Oh yeah, the thing about the Zeppelin.
Where
it's a love letter to a Zeppelin or something.
Yeah. So another one of those weird tongue-in-cheek things. So he claimed to be a British spy, working counterintelligence for the Germans, and one of the other stories is that he gave Churchill the V for Victory sign as antithesis to the swastika. That was supposed to be a magical symbol that was supposed to fight the powers of the swastika, because, again, this whole occultist bullshit, right? So, who knows if that actually happened. The story goes that...
So he claimed this himself?
People claim it.
Oh, people claim it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Gene Simmons came up with it.
The Trumpian people claim.
Yeah. I think he may have also claimed it, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that one. But there's a definite connection between the V for Victory against the swastika given to Churchill by Crowley.
Well, knowing his personality, we could claim that he would. Even if he didn't claim it at that time, he would probably claim it now.
Yeah, that's me. I totally did that.
Yeah.
Churchill's dead. He can't say shit about it.
There's kind of funny sort of opposites at play with Crowley. He's seen as sort of a fun, entertaining celebrity at the same time as he's seen as literally the wickedest man in the world and something awful. It's and at the same time as he's in his prime, as you say, leading into the Second World War. You've got a lot of really famous or well-known officials and stuff that are actually exploring the occult and not being seen as crazy for doing so.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like with William Lyon Mackenzie King.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing seances in the Mackenzie King domain and stuff, and he's inviting other famous people to come over and do them with him.
He was considered mad, though, was he not? Mackenzie King.
Mackenzie King?
I thought he was.
I don't think he was.
What was that sound you just made?
Insane.
Did I make a sound?
Mackenzie King.
No, I thought in his later life he was seen as being completely mad, insane. No, am I wrong?
I like your arms akimbo. Completely mad.
I'm mad. This is great for
Wide
podcast
open.
material.
No. I don't think he was ever like a King George type of.
Well, maybe not King George level mad, but that's a high standard.
No, that's syphilis mad. That's different.
Oh, right.
Although I think Aleister Crowley did have syphilis.
He had a lot of shit because he was,
I don't exactly think he was practicing safe sex.
No, he was a slut. He was not to slut shame, but like he was a bad kind of slut. He just
so again, there's that kind of contradiction stuff. So he seems to ultimately be like the ultimate kind of Dionysian.
He's a hedonist.
Hedonist, yeah, where you're just indulging in your every whim and
that,
desire, and that seems totally egoist.
So that
on some level, but at the same time, he's about rejecting or transcending the ego.
See, it comes back to the idea of uniting with every experience. Like if you wanted to indulge in something, you indulge in it. You know, you don't hold back for anything, and
no half measures.
Yeah, no half measures because. Every experience is meant to be.
What is that a quote from? The no half measures thing?
I don't remember.
No half measures. It's like a villain in some cheesy Hollywood movie. I think.
I can't remember at the moment.
Anyway,
but yeah, like he advocated for just uniting with every single experience, whether positive or negative, in order for it to be a stepping stone in your spiritual development. Right. That way, you become your authentic self. And you know what your actual likes are and what your actual dislikes are. If you're able to just unite with every experience, then you're able to say, well, this is part of my will and this isn't.
Because to some extent, isn't that sort of the project of a lot more mundane sorts of philosophies, like the Stoics or
the Stoics are more of just acceptance rather than indulgence.
Okay. No, I get that, but
right.
I'm saying the thing about going with your nature.
Oh, nature. Yeah.
And that's also kind of like what's his name, the guy who wrote On Walden Pond,
right.
Thoreau, right?
Yeah. Well, probably he wasn't.
And those people are also in some way sort of the antithesis of the complete hedonist debauchery kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, they're seen as very kind of. I don't know how you would call that kind of almost antiseptic kind of peace with nature and with your own nature kind of thing. You know, it's.
I suppose
meanwhile, Crowley's all like, smear shit on my ass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I guess we could suggest that was a scientific method to it. He's saying, go ahead and do it and see if you like it, kind of thing. You know, he was just full on doing it. No,
I take issue with the scientific part of that statement.
Well, he was basically saying like, see what your will wants, and let's try some crazy shit.
Yeah,
let's fuck kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, like he
get some spunk on a biscuit and I'll eat it.
You want to talk about the cum crackers?
Cum crackers. We're on to the cum crackers.
Okay,
so
I gotta hear this.
Or
do I? I don't know.
the central, I guess, practice of the religious part of the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, is something called the Gnostic Mass, and this was supposed to be an allegorical visual representation of spiritual attainment. Right, each station along the Mass is representative of a part of the tree of life, one of the Sephiroth and that kind of thing. So it's all hermetic and weirdly occultish and esoteric, but at the end of the Mass, similar to the reception of the host in the Catholic Mass, you're fed, a little cracker thing, and the correct recipe for this thing that's called a cake of light is semen.
Okay.
it's just you come in the batter.
Oh god.
But not only. So from what I understand, it wasn't only sperm. It was all excrements that you could possibly get on there. Like we're talking like.
No.
From what I understand, they was all put on the cracker.
No,
like
it's
menstrual blood.
Well, the blood thing was, it was revered, but it wasn't like for the specific cake of light. It's a cum cracker. That's
okay.
And it's because the reason they did that is because the highest degree of the OTO was supposed to represent sex magic, right? That's their big secret that everyone just kind of ignores. The OTO itself has just been like, nope. We're not about that. Meanwhile, the secret is everywhere thanks to the internet, and everybody knows that this is what they're doing at the highest degree. Right? The 9th degree is sex magic.
Sex magic.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about sex magic? Like what would be?
What does that entail? What does that mean?
Fucking with intent is how I guess it can be broken down.
So I heard about some story of him and I guess one of his acolytes or just a contemporary that was into this occult stuff had done this thing where they wandered into the desert to try and do some type of invocation of a demon, and it wasn't until they actually and it was totally drug fueled and stuff. They're walking into the desert on all kinds of drugs, and at some point they actually do have sex, and that's when he kind of realized that there was this.
Yeah, that's when he received a book he called The Vision and the Voice. It was an exploration of Enochian angelic magic, which they wandered into the desert. They were high off their asses on peyote, I think, and
they were fucking on peyote?
They were fucking on peyote.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine fucking on a hallucinogen. It's got to be the strangest thing in the world. You're an alien and this other thing in front of you is an alien.
Yeah. So the reason why they engaged in the sex magic part was to raise energy in order to summon the angel that was part of this ritual. And that was another one of those going against the current kind of things, because no practicing occultist at the time would dare to do that, because you're supposed to, according to Western ceremonial magic, you're supposed to set up the protective circle and you have the altars and the incense and all this shit, but he just fucking went out into the middle of the desert, no protection in every sense of the word, and just fucked his way into summoning an angel. So from then on, it was
from what I understand, the sex was used as a point of focus.
Yes.
It kind of does actually make sense. You can talk about focus, but at least with sex and getting results from sex, let's say an orgasm, you have just proven that you were focused enough to have an orgasm.
Yes.
So, for example, having an orgasm on a hallucinogen might be very, very difficult. I don't know. I just can't imagine.
Right. So you're supposed to raise the energy through the act of sex and then release the intent on at the moment of orgasm.
Right.
And you're supposed to time it so both of you come at the same time and release the same image into the universe, which brings you what you want? I guess?
I mean, just thinking about that act itself, though, that is quite the practice of will and control in a lot of ways, right? To be able to do that would be... It is proof of it being focus. They did, if they were able to do that. I don't know.
So, you were just saying something about, getting what you want out of this kind of spiritual practice. And I was thinking earlier about this idea that his dad's death kind of turned him away from conventional religion and spiritualism and towards this stuff, because he was basically pissed that he had this example of his dad, who was a devotee and a minister of this certain religion, and his dad, who he loved and revered, was ultimately rewarded by this devotion by being given tongue cancer,
right, and dying,
and dying and being taken away from this kid,
right,
and so the kid basically sees this and says, okay, so then the religion has to be bullshit, because how you're rewarded by devoting yourself to it is this way.
Yeah.
So did the alternative that he goes to ever end up actually rewarding him, or was it just as unlinked to reward as Christianity was, because we've said that he had asthma and he had syphilis and
in a sense,
he was full of disease himself.
How did he feel in the end of his life? And did he, in retrospect, do you think he would have been able to look at his life and go, that was a great success, and boy, I sure did achieve things?
He dedicated the rest of his life, the rest of his fortune, to publishing his works on Thelema. Like, he was super, super dedicated to this idea once he accepted it. So whether or not he derived any satisfaction from it, hard to say. But, he died penniless and addicted to heroin.
And alone.
Yeah.
People he wasn't particularly young. That's a fairly average time to die.
Yeah.
Like at 73 or 72 years old or however old he was.
Yeah. Like, he had a couple of marriages. He had a son way late in life, like a couple of years before he died, I think.
Fred Rogers, right?
Fred Rogers.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fame?
Yes. Fred Rogers Crowley. Man, that'd be weird. But, we can get into the weird conspiracy theories in a second if you want.
Yes, please.
But yeah, like, his son is still alive, Aleister Ataturk.
Ataturk?
Yeah.
Wow.
He named him Aleister Ataturk. Huh. But he wants fucking nothing to do with any of it. He just rejects all of this occult shit. Yeah. He's like, I don't want to talk. He doesn't give interviews to anybody. Like, it was hard to get him to say anything about his father because he barely.
Well, it's like what I was saying about like Mackenzie King and stuff. Like, it's really something of its time.
Yeah.
Like it in some sense, it's not. He was sort of like the ultimate of it, but it's not all that unusual to be sort of fascinated by the occult at that time.
Yeah.
In the time of his lifespan.
Right.
That's when
it was
the occult and this kind of spiritualism stuff was most popular.
Yeah, well, it was coming out of the exploration of Egypt, right? Like, they're uncovering
paganism.
Yeah. So they're uncovering all this like weird ancient shit from Egypt that no one had ever heard of
hence
before.
Explaining his obsession with Horus.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Horus was supposed to represent the child of the Eon. It was supposed to represent like the child coming into its own. Like, there were three aspects in Thelema. There's Horus being the primary focus of it. There's Nuit, who's like the embodiment of the infinite, and then there's Ra-Horuquit, who is supposed to be like the antithesis or whatever, like the point in the middle or some shit. It's the cosmology and the mythology of it is really fucking complicated. It's all based on Egyptian mumbo jumbo, and yeah. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
Like a lot of sort of contemporary people who dabble in paganism or witchcraft and stuff, they use a lot of symbolism that's specific to Egyptian pagan mythology, right? Like you'll see a lot of these people with like an ankh, which is that cross with the loop on the top of it.
Yeah.
Or the Eye of Ra,
right?
This kind of stuff, and
isn't that traced to the pineal gland, the Eye of Ra? No, because if you split the brain open,
it
basically does look the same.
That's one hypothesis that's been put out there.
It does look very similar.
Could just be a giant coincidence. I don't know.
I suppose.
But to touch on the contemporary practitioners of witchcraft and whatever, Wicca specifically owes itself to Crowley.
Like almost exclusively to Crowley.
The reason being is the founder of Wicca, Gerald Gardner, had received it's called a Minerval degree from Crowley, right? And a warrant to start up a new camp of the OTO.
Okay.
And this was like near the end of Crowley's life when this was granted to Gardner. So Gardner ran with it. It's like, I'm chartered now. I can fucking start a part of the OTO, but I'm gonna do my own.
That's why this Wicca stuff looks a lot more like gothy sort of occult stuff rather than looking like 17th century witchcraft kind of stuff. Like you don't see people running around in like cotton nightgowns and stuff.
Yeah.
They're all like wearing like black clothing and Egyptian symbols. And
but the thing with Wicca, it was meant to be an introduction to Thelema. Like it was watered down, bare bones Thelema. And the original Wiccan Rede, their law that they're supposed to follow, is taken almost word for word from the Book of the Law. Like,
that's interesting.
The central tenet of the Wiccan Rede is "An ye harm none, do what ye will," which was ripped off from "Do what thou wilt." Shall be the whole of the law.
Right.
And the charge of the goddess is taken word for word from the Gnostic Mass.
So I guess we could say he succeeded in spreading paganism and popularizing it in the West, sort of thing.
In that respect, yeah. Yeah. Like the entire occult revival of the 1960s owes itself to Crowley.
There's a persisting subculture now that exists as a direct result of his intentional creation of it.
So there are two occult revivals in my mind. There's the 1960s, when everyone was like Jimmy Page was into Crowley big time. He bought Beliskin House, which is where Crowley did his
Yeah, it's funny that you say that too, because I was wondering, as we were thinking about earlier about how much he was sincere in this demon stuff. How much of the lore around Aleister Crowley is sort of real exploration of demons and literal spirit world stuff versus just seeing what a spoiled celebrity does when they can do whatever they want.
Right.
Just within the context of a pre-information era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like nowadays you've got celebrities like I don't know who, think of a Lindsay Lohan or something, If she were living back then, but also just completely contemptuous of any type of convention or morality and just doing what she wants because she's a spoiled celebrity or something, would she just be seen as like a possessed, demon-haunted, evil thing?
Would Lindsay Lohan have been the Crowley of the era?
Would Lindsay Lohan have been the Crowley of the era? And in conversely, would Aleister Crowley just be like a Lindsay Lohan nowadays?
Or a Paris Hilton or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, it's an interesting thought, and I think to a large extent you're right. Like if Crowley were living today, he would just be another one of those celebrities, a paparazzi kind of fame-seeking dilettante, rabble-rouser kind of guy,
Well, it's difficult to. I mean, it's to say that it's hard to know. It's chicken or the egg kind of stuff, The zeitgeist of the time. Brought him about it. It's hard to know what he'd be into.
He'd
nowadays.
be huge on Twitter. He would be like,
who knows what he'd be doing now? I don't know what he'd be thinking.
He'd be tweeting back and forth with Trump. It'd be ridiculous.
So
go ahead.
So what about this conspiracy theory stuff?
So there's one of my favorites is that Barbara Bush. the Barbara Bush conspiracy theory, my ultimate favorite. I can't remember the details of it at the moment, so I'm gonna have to pass on it. Fuck.
What is your favorite?
I know, but I can't remember.
Barbara,
it was my favorite.
Something about
it's not anymore.
Barbara Bush maybe being his daughter or something,
yeah.
and so George W. Bush is his grandson.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you, the reason is because if you do a
split
screen of their faces,
they look
there
very
seems
similar?
to be some similar features.
Yeah.
Some...
Especially Crowley in his later life when he's all melting. And
when he's melting, he looks like her when she's melting.
Yeah, super funny.
Well, older men do start to look like.
Well, I was just about to say, don't a lot of old people look alike in a certain sense?
Just like all babies look like Winston Churchill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's that one, which is super funny.
What was the Mr. Rogers one? What's that one?
No, that's just one that I made up because.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a real thing.
No.
You slagging off.
You should sell it though. Just add some sex in there, Jill, and
yeah,
you can
that's
sell
right.
There you go. The illegitimate son of Aleister Crowley was Fred Rogers. Man, that'd be
I was about to say, like, was he actually married to, like, this woman that was sort of witness to one of his automatic writing things?
Yeah, that ended real bad, though.
Oh, what happened?
They had 2 kids together, I think. 2 kids.
Well, and he was considered a bit of a misogynist, was he not?
Yeah, big time. Like he was
take away the word "bit," maybe.
Yeah,
he was a misogynist.
He was a misogynist. He was in a lot of places he was a fucking racist. Like he was he was a Victorian. He was a person of his time. You know, he didn't have respect for people.
Yeah, was he even liked?
No,
because Gilles brought up this idea that there was a sense of fun around him, but I don't think there was.
Like he was an asshole.
Like sex with Aleister Crowley would not have been a good time, kind of thing.
But not very long after there is. Like, okay, he dies in 47, and then like right away you've got all these celebrities in the 60s that are wearing Crowley t-shirts and reading his books, and
he's on the cover of Sgt. Pepper, you know.
Yeah, he's on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club.
Right. So, okay, so in a sense, once, but the man himself.
So like, there's not much of a gap between when he's. So there must have been contemporaries that were sort of soberly looking, or not soberly, but looking at this from the outside as more of an entertaining kind of thing,
well, see,
rather than
the organizations that he founded at the time.
Like, stick it to the moralists, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, there were people like that at that time, other than Crowley, right?
Right. Well, after he died, the organizations that he had founded were in a power vacuum, and all these different people. Like Shaw, for example, they're all competing. Well, not Shaw. That's a bad example.
Yates.
They're all competing with each other for a power grab. Like, who replaces Crowley? Who's head of the order now? And like the order's all splintered off, and other celebrities followed one branch. Others followed like this other one. Offshoots all over the place. The AA in particular just had so many fucking different versions of it going around. The only one that kind of still has its original structure in place and can still trace itself back to Crowley is the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, which are now a lot like Scientology.
Oh yeah?
In their power structure. Like the guy at the top is just a fucking lunatic, and the OTO holds all of Crowley's copyrights, and they protect those copyrights like through whatever legal methods they can. They're vicious about pursuing these things. Like at some point, someone had published all of the secret OTO documents online, and they went after this guy. Like the Scientologists would go after someone. Yeah. And anyone who speaks out against upper management in the OTO was shunned. Like Alan Greenfield, for example, is one of these guys who split with the organization. He was at the time super well known. He's into this whole alien conspiracy stuff. Anyway, that's another topic for another story. But so power vacuums, the organization splintered, different offshoots are going off, and like everyone is just chomping at the bit for part of the power pie.
So it sounds like in that sense then that Aleister Crowley was, while he existed, a point of focus himself.
Yeah.
His ego allowed for a focus of like the method of their rituals and their you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, he was like a spiritual guy. Like he was a huge spiritual leader and whatever, but he was a shit administrator, which is why all these organizations just went to hell after he died. He didn't leave.
But they went to hell after he died. Though.
Yeah.
So while he existed, there was that focus.
Well, of course, because he was head dude, like he was grand poobah of everything.
Right.
He put himself on the same level as the ascended masters of the Blavatsky era and all these other people like Gandhi or whatever, you know.
Did anyone like him? Like, did he have friends that were close?
Very few. His principal secretary, Israel Regardie, I think is the closest he ever had to an actual friend, and like he wrote Crowley's biography and all this other stuff. So like I think that would be the closest he had to a friend. It was not well liked.
I guess what I'm getting at is that, like he wasn't some sort of a religious leader that had followers that were surrounding him and all happy to be in his presence, sort of thing.
But he kind of did.
He did
too. Like
he did also have that.
Yeah. Well, like this thing you mentioned, this compound in Sicily, right? the Abbey, where he had like some terrible room or something where they would do these sex magic sessions. And
The terrible
the
room.
terror
Like
room.
that's the sex room.
terror room.
It was the terror room. He would
Like,
give people hallucinogens and lock them in this room with his really shit paintings all over the place, and they would trip out, and like he would just leave them there. Like he was not a
Give
nice
them a
person.
bad trip.
Yeah, he would leave
Just
them.
giving people a bad trip.
Yeah, it was an experiment. Like, how long can you survive tripping the fuck out, dude? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like someone.
So how many people were living at this compound with him?
I don't remember. There were a few people there. Like it wasn't
Right. It wasn't just him.
Yeah, no, it
and
wasn't
some
just
other
him and
person.
some dude.
Him and a dude.
But someone died at some point because they drank bad water. Like,
Okay.
and this is what started.
Yeah,
the
that's
whole,
it. The place wasn't being upkept because everybody who was living there was just walking around high, so nobody is actually thinking of
No
the
one's
logistics
doing anything.
They were
of
shitting in the
of
drinking water.
maintaining a household.
Well, the drinking water thing is and this is what started some of the rumors about the Abbey of Thelema, and part of the reason why he got kicked out by the Mussolini government is because a cat fell into the well and died.
And that's what poisoned the water.
That's what poisoned the water. Someone drank it, they died,
Yeah.
and then the government's like, "Fuck off, guys! This is bullshit. Get the hell out." So yeah, like it. And then people go on to say, well, he was practicing all this evil magic and summoning demons at the Abbey, and he killed somebody and sacrificed a goat and shit.
Say what you will about Mussolini's fascists, they have their limits.
That's the line.
That's the line.
Fascism is cool, but Crowley's the line. Get the hell out.
That's fucking retarded. I mean, ridiculous.
Oh, so yeah, that's how that one person died, and that's there's a lot of misinformation about Crowley. Obviously, he's misunderstood.
And he seems to have thrived on that. That just helped promote it.
Right.
He went with it.
But what's really funny, okay, one of the most accurate films or depictions about Crowley and Thelema that I've ever seen, get this, I'm not making this shit up, is from a porno movie, a parody of the X-Files called The Sex Files.
Okay.
Mulder and Scully are investigating a succubus that's going on this sex rampage kind of thing, and I think it was summoned by a group of Thelemites, and then Mulder is explaining to Scully what Thelema is and what Crowley is all about, and they're getting everything spot on.
This sounds like some high quality porn. Like I've never seen any porn like this.
It's like I watched it because it's the Sex Files, and I had no idea that it was going to be about Crowley when I picked this thing up. So I'm like, holy shit! Who did their research? This is amazing. So the most informative piece you can get on Crowley is the Sex Files.
The Sex Files.
Yeah.
So what is this, like a 90s porn or something?
Not even.
Like
It's
that,
like
or?
it's pretty recent.
It's pretty recent.
Oh, really?
I just watched it last month. In my room of horrors.
Yeah, I just thought that was hilarious.
I guess I'm gonna have to finally go to Pornhub.
Oh yeah, can you find it at Pornhub or something like that?
Probably. Yeah.
Huh.
So
We'll have the attachment underneath.
The links to this porn.
link in the
Worth it.
description. So go check out the Sex Files if you want an unbiased account of Crowley and Thelema. I couldn't get over it. Like, it's just so accurate. I'm losing my shit. I'm like, oh my god!
That's pretty funny.
My girlfriend's like, can we have sex now? I'm like, I'm taking notes.
I'm taking notes.
Got a podcast in a couple years. Might come in handy. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about this Golden Dawn group that he was part of that had like Bram Stoker in it and
Right. It was
the poet Yeats and
it was the occult organization of the time. Like it was like if you wanted to be part of this occult movement and if you were rich and part of that kind of entourage, this is the organization you would join. Right.
So this was basically like a variety of secret society, just like the Illuminati or
Right. Yeah, and like they did occult practices that were based on, like the reason why they're called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is because they based a lot of their writings on the golden, the Emerald Tablet, like of Hermes. Right. So they built this mythology around it and created all these complicated rituals, and it was supposed to delineate spiritual attainment with each degree that you rose up in the ranks. Crowley eventually found it vapid and useless, so he published all their secrets and got expelled. Because that's what he did, right? He was a shit disturber.
And now anybody who publishes all the secrets of the OTO, they get the same treatment.
Right, yeah. But
it's kind of hypocritical.
In order to preserve the legacy of the Golden Dawn, Crowley's secretary, Israel Regardie, wrote like a massive tome on all the rituals. He just gave it to the public. Like, here's everything that we used to do.
Okay.
So that was like the ending of the Golden Dawn.
Right. It's like a magician publishing a book of how they do all the magic tricks. Like it's going to be hated and ruin everything, basically.
Right. Yeah.
There's no mystery behind it.
Yeah. Crowley
breaks the spell.
Yeah. Crowley broke the spell because he's like, this is bullshit. We're not getting anything out of it. This is not real spiritual attainment. Fuck y'all.
Yeah. Let's fuck cookies. Everyone fuck cookies. Let's go.
Let's have the cum crackers.
Let's fuck cookies.
Let's fuck cookies and make cum crackers.
God, this is gross.
If performed properly, and if you don't consume the cum crackers, the Gnostic Mass is actually really interesting to watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What is that about? What? The
Gnostic Mass is that thing that I was talking about earlier, the central religious practice of the OTO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they have their own I guess priestly class within the OTO. You know, they have their own Gnostic bishops and things, and they have their priests and priestesses who practice the Mass, and they're authorized to do it and shit. And like it's supposed to be the public face of the OTO.
And what happens at the Mass? Like,
it's just a Mass.
Does the guy just stand up at the front of the thing and read from a book? And
they read from
end.
They read from some of Crowley's really bad poetry.
Okay.
I think it might be in here actually. I'm not sure.
I can't help but think he realized he was a really bad writer, so it's like, I gotta have a shtick.
I gotta have a thing. What am I about?
Well, and that would be like L. Ron Hubbard, right? Like he just churns out like this stream of consciousness, kind of shallow sci-fi stuff
to win his bet.
And then he figures, why don't I write something that can be turned into a religion, can be turned into something more substantive.
L. Ron Hubbard was never really considered a good writer, was he?
No.
Until he created his mythos.
Terrible writer.
He is a bad writer, yeah. I mean, I've never tried, so I
that's
like the movie that they made out of one of his books there, the
certainly a bad movie.
Battlefield Earth.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, it's just awful, right?
Right.
So I found the actual text of the Gnostic Mass in here.
Okay.
It's long, and there are like instructions on how to perform it and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Why was I looking this up?
Well, because I wanted to know what the Gnostic Mass entailed, like whether it was just some guy standing at the front of the room reading from a book, just like a Catholic Mass.
No.
You were saying it was interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting performance because, like, if you know what progression along the Tree of Life is supposed to look like, according to, like, the practices of the Golden Dawn, for example, or the AA, then you can watch the Mass taking place, and you can see each of the performers moving up according to how you're supposed to progress along that spiritual development, along the Tree of Life.
I see.
So, it's, in that regard, it's kind of interesting to watch. Some of the poetry in the Mass is kind of good, like good-ish, in that it's interesting to listen to.
Give us a tasty sampler of some of this.
So this is what the priest is supposed to say at one point during one of the offices. Thou who art I beyond all that I am, who hast no nature and no name, who art when all but thou are gone, thou centre and secret of the sun, thou hidden spring of all things known and unknown, thou aloof alone, thou the true fire within the reed, brooding and breeding, source and seed of life, love and liberty and light, thou beyond speech and beyond sight, thee I invoke, my faint fresh fire, kindling as mine intense aspire, thee I invoke, abiding one, thee center and secret of the sun, and that most holy mystery of which the vehicle am I. So it just goes on and on and on like that, and eventually you consume the cum cake, and then you're good to go.
You're good to go. It's using a lot of that sort of putting on airs of using the thou and thee and this,
Oh, yeah.
this kind of biblical
King
way,
James-ish,
the King James.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this with the Mormon texts and how they just made themselves sound more legitimate by using this kind of language, even though it's a couple hundred years after this language is ever in use.
Same thing. Like he's heavily influenced by Christianity and specifically the King James Bible, right? Like that's like from the Book of the Law. You know, a lot of it is just fucking. You know.
Well, it sounds
King
like a
James
mix of like the Bible and King Jamesy Bible and Eastern mysticism. Kind of.
Well, for example, O prophet, thou hast ill will to learn this writing. I see thee hate and hate the hand and the pen, but I am stronger because of me in thee, which thou knewest not. For why? Because thou wast not the knower and me. You know, like what the fuck are you talking about? But this is supposed to have come from that discarnate supernatural entity, whatever.
Oh,
discarnate.
Yeah.
What does that word mean?
Like just a floating non-entity kind of thing. No body, just a spirit or whatever.
Well, this entity,
incarnate.
This entity also did. I was reading in Wikipedia that he did describe it as also having a body at some point too. That he was like a tall, dark, handsome guy kind of thing. Am I wrong?
Well, okay, this leads into another branch of the OTO, right? Like, yeah, he did describe Aiwass at some point as having a giant fucking almond-shaped head. Can you guess where I'm going with this?
Like an alien?
Like an alien. So what did the Typhonian OTO do? They commune with aliens, according to Crowley magic. Because Aiwass is supposed to be some kind of interdimensional alien species or whatever, or representative.
EBEs are of the OTO.
Whoa. So yeah, there's another offshoot of the OTO, the Typhonian Ordo Templi Orientis, who revere Aiwass as an alien kind of figure that if they commune with will give them mystical knowledge, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So
some real special Mr. Christie cookies.
Of the crazies, they're the craziest.
Mm-hmm.
It's all crazy. It's all crazy.
Yeah. There's no not crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Very interesting. I'm looking forward to watching this porn when I
Yes. Everyone check out the Sex Files.
Yeah.
Sex Files.
It's highly recommended.
Well, I mean, come on. It's rare you hear that.
Five dicks up.
You can get some education from a porn, really.
It doesn't happen often.
Usually, we're looking to unlearn what we've just seen in a porn.
Right. Like, oh God! What the? So any final thoughts on Aleister Crowley, Thelema, the OTO, the AA, anything in general?
Well, it sounds like he I think I said this earlier, but it sounds like he succeeded in achieving what he wanted to achieve with his will, in the sense that he popularized a certain realm, and then it, of course, lost its focus once he died,
right?
Which is probably too bad.
He saw his will as being. He saw his will as being the prophet of the new eon, meant to usher in Thelema for all mankind and whatever. So maybe in a way you're right. Like maybe he did succeed in that because he's still a popular cultural icon. The OTO still exists. The AA in one format or another still exists.
In that sense, he achieves his immortality,
right?
With continuing on his.
Like if you strip away all the occult bullshit and all the mumbo jumbo and the woo and whatever, the bare essence of Thelema is kind of interesting. Like trying to do away with.
It's just to be a moral dissident.
It's not only that. It's like if you just do away with your conscious ego and whatnot, and figure out what it is that you're, naturally inclined to do, and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that not make sense?
Right. Yeah, and that can be. Yeah, that can be pretty benign.
Yeah.
Or if not beneficial.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not inherently evil.
I'm going to make that my final thought.
Okay.
Jill, what's yours?
I don't know if I have a final thought. I guess he's an interesting character, and I can see why he's attractive as
not physically. Have you seen the
No, but I mean attractive in terms of just being an edgy
The punkiness. He was
Yeah,
a successful
exactly.
iconoclast kind of thing.
That's it. Yeah. You know, which is great. It's cool. He's ruffling feathers and he's thumbing his nose at conventions, which is
From
always
beyond
fun.
the grave.
But yeah, I guess that's my final thought.
That's my final thought.
This has been Critical Junction episode 55. I'm Mark.
I'm Luke.
I'm Jill.
As always, thanks for listening, and until next time, keep thinking critically.